So today I'm going to share my vegan journey and why and how I ended up on a vegan lifestyle. So I'm going to start with why, and it's mainly two reasons for that. And I'm going to start with the first one, the major one, and that was actually my health. I have been struggling with stomach pains and stomach aches for years. When I turned 15 years old, we went through all of the tests they could possibly do, even through my doctor and at the hospital, without any results. It got up to that point, I think I was around 17 years old. It got to that point where whenever I ate dinner, and especially red meat dinners, I had to lay down for at least 2 hours and sleep and let my body use all the energy to process the food and to obtain all the nutrients that my body needed from the food. I ended up doing school and work as like my two highest priorities. It basically ended up that I didn't have any point of views or interests or hobbies because I didn't have time for it. And I chose, because I kind of had to go to bed and sleep instead of hang out with my friends. I just missed out on a lot of stuff because of my stomach problems. So to the second reason is that at the same time when I was 17 I got my first job, and ironically now it was as a butcher in a supermarket. So I worked with roasting chicken and making pre-made food, and I had to touch a lot of raw chickens. That was my main issue, I remember when I first started there. And it's just texture and seeing a whole chicken just laying there. I couldn't eat chicken for weeks, but then you get used to it, and I wanted to keep my first job, so I just stuck to it. But I didn't eat chicken for weeks. One of the first things I really remember and really wondering about and finding strange at the supermarket was that by roasting these chickens were that they were all the same size. If you buy a whole chicken, they're all 1 kilo raw. They might be like a few grams in between, but it's mainly they're all 1 kilo. And it kind of struck me as a bit crazy, because it just went into putting it to like this mass production instead of seeing them as animals. And of course I didn't see them get killed, or I didn't see them rip their feathers off. I just saw them coming in this package where they're all were 1 kilo each. So when I was 18 I moved to Oslo, which are Norway's capital and the biggest city, even though it's not really big, but since it's the biggest city in Norway, I chose to just keep my job and just get transferred, because I already worked there for 1.5 years and I felt like I knew most of it, and it was just convenient to not have to look for another job or go to any job interview. I could just get transferred, so it was really convenient and easy for me to do. And it was at the supermarket in Oslo I really learned about the industry and what I so badly dislike with it. And that's one of my major ethics and issues with the industry, because I could see it from inside a supermarket and I can see how it actually goes down. And I got a lot of information on what they feed the animals and how long the chicken lives. And all of these not known facts of how the biggest companies of milk and the meat industry, you have to go through certain companies to actually be able to sell your stuff in the shop. That doesn't only make it really wrong and really one-powered. But it was first in Oslo I actually really felt like the meat had belonged to an animal, and that it was just not two separate parts, that it was actually the same. Because we got lamb for lamb season in the spring on up to 20 kilos, and we had to cut them all down to the different parts and pieces that you sell. Normally we just get them cut and pre-packed basically. But now we got a 20 kilo lamb, and it was bigger than a kid, and we needed 2 people to lift it up, and we really worked with it. So I guess that my grossness with meat started at this job, but I got so used to touching it and working with it that I got blind for it. I learned a lot of interesting facts, like the chicken you buy in a shop has an age of maximum living 25 days. That's under a month of living. And in Norway by itself, they kill 5 million. That's more than people there are in Norway. 5 million chickens per year just for the egg industry. And that's not even counting the chickens that we eat. And I think all of these facts just threw me off. So I lived in Oslo for 2 years, and I had this job for 2 years where I did stuff that I didn't really like, but I asked a lot of questions, and I learned so much during working there that when I started traveling, I took a gap year and I traveled. I mainly ate vegetarian because it wasn't appetizing anymore to eat meat after knowing. But of course I was not vegetarian strictly, but it was just what I wanted, what I craved. After my gap year, I chose to move to Denmark, and I met a lot of international beautiful people with a really open mind, and they gave me so much more information that I needed, both about the industry, about meat, about food waste, about different issues that I'm really interested and passionate about today. So the last 2 years I learned so much. So it was actually not before last January I really set my foot down and said like, okay, I'm doing this, I want to go vegetarian. So with all of these new people and all of this new information, I started digging into it more deeply, and I started reading a lot about nutrients and how the body works and what it actually needs. So I soon figured out that a lot of the nutrition books had a lot of wrong information in them, and that most of them were based on a not plant-based diet. So a lot of the top ones on the lists of different vitamins or minerals had animal product in them, and it was not because they necessarily had the most amount or that you couldn't find it in plant-based food. And since I realized that, I had to combine my information with stuff I could find on the internet, and I had to open my view and more different sides. And as much as I started digging into vegetarian, I came across vegan, and it was first then after a few months. So I started as a vegetarian in January, and then I went fully to a vegan diet March 2015. So this is just a long and shady way to a vegan diet and my journey. And I want to address the benefits in different videos because it's been so many and more than I could ever imagine. Thanks for watching. Peace out.